This is Dr. Ruben Chen, and welcome to the Vital Signs Podcast. Hello, hi, this is Dr. Ruben Chen. Welcome to another Vital Signs Podcast today. Today we have a very special guest, but before we get started, I do want to make a shout out to Sunrider International. They are what makes this podcast happen. So if you don't know very much about Sunrider, we are the biggest manufacturer, a privately owned manufacturer of herbal health foods and cosmetics, and some of the best really skincare products on the market. We're going to be talking about skincare today. A lot of almost all of our skincare products are pH balanced for the skin. They use herbal botanicals that are very, very gentle and easy for the body to absorb. Our philosophy at Sunrider is that the skin is the largest organ system on the body, and you've got to nourish it just like every other part of the body. So we have great products for people who are really young to very old. And we have a new product group that's coming out called Candescent Pure, really designed to be really light and sheer on the skin for all age groups to keep that anti-aging component, but also good for both men and women. So if you haven't tried it out, you can see us on sunrider.com. You can also talk with your local independent business owner. If you are new to Sunrider or you're a customer, definitely ask an IBO and they'll be able to help you out. You can also follow us on YouTube and Instagram and on Facebook. All right. So we have a skincare specialist since we were talking about skincare today. So I figure we'd let Anna, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know sort of your expertise in the skincare field.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for having me today. My name is Anna. I am a licensed esthetician here in LA. I've been licensed for about 5 years now. Absolutely love what I do. Originally, why I also got interested in this brand, I love holistic wellness. So at first, I thought I wanted to be a dietitian.
Oh.
Ended up going to college for a little bit and deciding it really wasn't for me. Someone had mentioned the word esthetician, and at the time, I really didn't know what that meant at all. So I took a visit to the Aveda Institute, and it was very lucky. One of those things I walked in and knew it was where I was supposed to be. So since then, I've just been really focusing on taking care of people's skin, but from a more holistic standpoint of if you put good in, you'll get good out. Thus, our face will be looking even better. So that's my philosophy. That's why I do what I do. So I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, so that's sort of interesting. What do you mean? I guess I've never heard of holistic skincare before. I don't know. Is that sort of a new thing in the skincare industry? I mean, how is that different than, I guess, the way most people approach skincare?
I kind of describe it is, I say holistic because I like to do more Ayurvedic techniques, as in pressure point massages, lymphatic drainage. I really like to focus on my sense of touch. And then I add in the good products with that. So whether it's more medical grade, plant-based products, whichever, I love to use a combination. But I really focus on more of that touch that you're giving somebody. So that in tune can help with that holistic side of things, more of the natural way.
Wow.
I feel like it's definitely something that's been around, but I think more, especially throughout COVID, everybody's really focused in on the self-care aspect and how they can give themselves self-care. So, really focusing on that, I think, has been huge.
And how, especially during COVID, I mean, how would that include into somebody's self-care? Because this is actually all new. I've never heard anything like this before. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody's starting to do a lot of like at-home facials. So even a little face mask, or I don't know if you're familiar with, they make stones like gua sha or jade rollers. I know you guys have a jade roller. Those are wonderful things people can do at home that are just great to wake up the skin, increase circulation. And I know those are getting very popular right now too. So adding that into your at-home routine. I know I've seen so many people posting about jade rolling or facial massaging throughout COVID. So that's been something that has definitely been added, I think, into people's routine. And then it's just making skincare all the more fun with that.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of studies that are coming out about increased blood flow to the skin can help with improving collagen, helping, obviously, anti-aging is a really big thing. And so, yeah, the increased blood flow. I was actually looking at some products use, like there's some things that men use for hair growth, like adenosine. And they're adding that to some skincare products to improve that blood flow to the skin because as men want to keep their hair, people also want to have that same kind of effect to help like keep their skin young the way that they want to keep their scalp young. So that's sort of interesting. Yeah. So you had mentioned a little familiarity with our Sunrider products. So can you tell me about how you got how did you come to know about Sunrider products and how that got incorporated into your practice?
Yeah, so super cool story. I do facials from my home in a suite in Long Beach, and then I also manage at a spa in the South Bay. So I had the cleansing oil, the foaming wash, the beauty water, and then the hydrating gel. I love cleansing oils, so I was so excited to see that. I'm such a proponent of oils, so my whole concept is dewy skin. So I love that that's in there, and I love that everybody can use it. Kind of a simple regimen, but still very effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oils are a big thing. I'm glad that you mentioned that because I know that sometimes it feels a little bit, when you talk about cleansing the skin using oil, it feels a little counterintuitive to the average person. And I know these guys in college that would wash, this is maybe a guy thing, but they would wash their face with rubbing alcohol. And like the worst thing that you could apply to your skin. And they would just put it on. They're like, oh, it's just going to get all the oils out. I'm like, yeah. Having some oils there is there for a reason. So, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So tell me about why oils are important for skincare in general.
Yeah. Well, like you said, largest organ in the body. So making sure we're keeping that barrier replenished. Our epidermis is that layer, making sure we're keeping that replenished and protected. So oil, actually, misconception, oil does absorb oil. So I have oily clients. They're like, oh, I should not use an oil cleanser because I'm so oily. Well, what I kind of try to describe it very simply. What can happen when your skin is dry is it's smart. It's our largest organ. So it knows, hey, I'm dry. Let me overcompensate by producing more oils in the skin. Thus, you're going to feel oily. But in reality, you're actually just dehydrated. So getting a good oil cleanser that can help overcompensate or help with that overcompensation by balancing it out because oil will absorb the oil. And then I love to follow it up with a second cleanse. So like you have the foaming cleanser, that's a great combination. That's going to help with any breakouts or congestion, but overall good for those oily skin types. I love foaming cleansers if someone is oily. So you really have no excuse to, I can't use oil cleansers because you also have a foaming cleanser that you can do after. So it's a great pre-cleanse to the skin. So I always love incorporating them for everyone.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, this is for our new Condescent Pure line and just barely launched in North America. So we're pretty excited about it. So let me ask, what are some, because you see different kinds of clients, what are some major misconceptions about skincare? Because you must do a lot of education for your clients. What are some of the things that people are doing wrong that you see everywhere?
I would say one thing you'd think it's not true, but I have a lot of people that tell me they don't need sunscreen. Or
Really?
even your darker skin tones. Oh, I don't need it. I don't burn. Now, granted, you may not outwardly burn, but your skin still can be damaged. So I recommend SPF for everyone, at least an SPF 30. I recommend reapplying every 2 hours. So things like that, really, I don't see happening too often. So that's kind of a misconception, like, oh, I don't need it. Or one of my other favorites is I get a lot of men's facials. They love to say, I don't need any skincare, I just use water. Now,
Huh.
they may have gone away with that for the first 45 years of their life, but
Right.
I'm all about preventative measures. So keeping your skin protected, bringing in that sunscreen. So I would say some misconceptions are men don't need facials and we don't need sunscreen, but everybody can benefit because, look good, feel good. It kind of encompasses everything and just keeping your skin protected. I think everybody wants to feel youthful inside and outwardly too. And my number one thing for that is keep protected.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually in Asia, a lot of women there, they'll cover themselves. I mean, it's hot outside, it's like 90% humidity and 100 degrees, but they'll cover themselves head to toe with covers so they don't get absolutely zero sunlight to keep that skin looking as bright and young as possible.
Mhm.
And I would see them. They would cover their hands with
And
gloves, and they're on their scooters. Yeah, I mean, it's smart, right? They want to stay young looking, and that's one of the reasons why their skin looks great at age like 40 or 50 years old. They've got like 20-year-old skin. So because the sun really does age that skin very fast.
Mhm.
So you also mentioned men. So are there more men getting into skincare? I mean, what is your experience with that right now?
Yeah, same kind of thing. I've always had a decent amount of male clients, but within this last year and a half, I have had probably the same amount of men as I've had women.
Oh,
Um, yes, yeah. So it's funny, a lot of times it'll be I have the wife or I have the girlfriend, and they say, oh, I need to get my man in here for a facial. He's super against it, very, I don't need this, ends up loving it. And then, they keep coming back because it's a full experience. So I definitely would say more men are getting into it. Just the fact that it's being advertised and marketed so much more too. Everybody's kind of realizing, oh, this is something I need to consider in my life. I take care of my body at the gym. I should also take care of my face, get regular facials, which are workouts for your skin.
yeah. I like that. Workouts for your skin. And everybody's on Zoom now, right? And the camera's like right on your face.
That's a good point. Yes. So many people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I looked like this through the camera. Now I have to come get a facial because I see everything. And you're in front of so many people now. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so it's basically everybody is their own movie star, and so now everybody wants to take care of their skin like that.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that people are doing right? Like you're feeling like, okay, most people know this thing about skincare that you've seen.
Mhm. I would say something that a lot of people are doing right are doing a nighttime routine, at
Hmm.
least from the people that I'm around. So taking their makeup off before bed. So doing that, or at least cleansing before they go to sleep, and then doing a moisturizer. So I think really talking about the importance of a routine and how that can benefit somebody. Again, I think that's something that's being promoted a lot more or talked about more. So I see a lot of people actually having a routine now. Again, you still have those people that are like, oh, I don't need it, I use water. But I do see so many people. I have so many clients now. I always ask them, tell me what you're doing at home. And they'll just give me a plethora of products, which is great. So they're doing something right, they're adding new things into their routine. But I always like to tell people, don't overstress yourself with so many products. There can be so many things out there. Stick to the basics, stick to your basics, and you can add things in as you go.
How many products do most people use for the skin that you see?
I would say for the average person, 4.
I was expecting more for some reason. I know I've talked with some ladies and they'll say like, I use maybe like 9 products in the morning and then 11 products at night before I go to bed or something like that. I mean, it just blows me away.
Now, I have my days when I do that. Don't get me wrong. But I would say on average, cleanser, serum, moisturizer, SPF. That's kind of that basic foundation. And then, of course, I love to do 9 or 10, but we don't always have time for that. So sticking to a nice, simple routine that you're going to do. Because a lot of times people are like, I don't have time. I just don't, I'm so busy at home. I'm so busy with work. I don't have time to do these 9 steps. So breaking it down into the simple things, because that's really, go back to the basics. It works.
What about for teenagers? Because their skin is young, but is it similar to more mature skin or is it like its own thing?
Yeah, so I do like to treat teen skin differently than I would mature skin. Our skin is always changing, but I do like to get teens started with a good regimen, pretty simple. I love foaming cleansers because a lot of times we're going through hormonal acne or something nice and exfoliating. And then as we age, our skin cells start to slow down. So that's where I like to come in and give you that replenishing serums and creams. So I like to, again, everybody is different, but usually teens go through those hormonal stages. So more exfoliating, foaming products. And then as we get more mature skin, more hydrating and emollient. So a little more creamy and hydrating to the skin.
Yeah. Wow. And how has business been during the pandemic for you right now? Has it been a lot more, or has it been about the same as pre-pandemic? Or I mean, how has it been?
Yeah, so I think when actually, I'll just give you a little breakdown of, I was at a spa managing this pre-COVID. COVID had hit, and it finally gave me time to just sit down and think, wow, my whole goal in life has been to have my own spa. So I kind of wrote out a business plan, and then I suddenly had clients just miraculously reaching out to me during the pandemic, asking if I could give them facials, come to their house. I was very anti at first, and then I ended up, getting everything I needed, credential-wise, product-wise, and just went full force with it. So I actually was very busy with my own business, with the house calls, traveling to people all over LA, which turned into now I'm just have my own suite for it. Now back to the spa part-time, the traffic has been, I think people are just so eager to get back to normalcy. Yeah. So it's been great here too. At first, you still have those people, they're like, oh, like, what are your precautions? Are you wearing gloves, mask? And we're like, maybe it's not time for your facial yet then if you're still worried about those things, because I'm going to be touching your face. But yeah, it's definitely, we have our waves, but people I think are just eager for that normalcy. So yeah. I was lucky enough, I never stopped working throughout the pandemic. And now that we're back into things opening up, we just have more people to treat.
Yeah, I had a friend of ours at church who was a barber, or not, I'm sorry, a hairdresser. And so I don't want to say that wrong. And she was traveling to everybody's home in our church doing haircuts because I think her salon had to close down. And for at least for a period of time, she wasn't seeing many clients. But everybody wanted to have something done at their home, and she was busy. She's like, I have a schedule, and you got to get an appointment like everybody else. And she would just travel, and You know, come, you have to tell her how many clients, because sometimes people will say, hey, I invited this other person over just, you know, since you're coming over. Like, oh, I have time for two, and now I've got like 5 people. And so, so it was, I was surprised. A lot of those people who were able to be a little bit, maybe more flexible, maybe open their mind a little bit. They were busy, and she was paid cash every time. So at least that's what we did.
Yeah, it's been a great time, I think, for people in the beauty industry and just the skin health and wellness, because it just, like you said, people are seeing themselves on Zoom, or they have the time now, so they're taking advantage of it. So it's a really good time for people in their business. Not for everyone, but for this industry, I feel like it was pretty good.
I think self-care is one of those areas that I feel like maybe because people were so busy before, they didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you have time to yourself, or with your spouse or your partner, and with maybe only a few friends, and you're just thinking, hey, you know, that thing I put off, maybe I shouldn't keep putting it off. Or people are just reflecting on themselves a little bit more in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned that was interesting is like a holistic approach. So do you also give recommendations for diet, or what other things do you have besides skincare that you give people as recommendations?
Yeah. So during my schooling, we did go over, of course, the things that are good and bad for your skin, food-wise, diet-wise. However, I'm not a health coach or a food analysis gal per se, so I can't say full advice, do this, but I can say what I recommend. This has worked for me, or these are things that would be good for your skin. Try it out, but I can't necessarily diagnose and then treat, because I don't have that license. But there are certain things that can trigger different skin concerns or skin disorders for sure.
Like what kind of foods do you notice are just like, a lot of people used to say like chocolate, or pizza is not good. So, but what are the things that are just wreak havoc on your skin that you take like when you eat?
Some of the main things, definitely dairy. So cheese. I know we all love cheese, but cheese is actually a main culprit of acne. So if I have a client that has really bad breakouts, sometimes I like to then hone in on, okay, what's your diet like? If they tell me they do have a lot of cheese, again, okay, well, maybe back off a little bit on that. So really things that are high processed foods, greasy, honestly, the things we all love, milk, those types of things. So I like to stick to a plant-based, more plant-based diet, lots of fruits, lots of veggies. I love my carbs, but anything, fatty and greasy can just trigger that inflammation in your body, even everywhere. But usually whatever's going on internally is going to come out on our face. So that's when, looking into your diet can help out with some guidance there.
So pizza and like a greasy hamburger, probably not the best things for your skin.
Every once in a while, moderation, but
sure.
There's some things you can always tune into if you're experiencing some skin concerns.
Yeah, I love, I had a patient of mine who was very frustrated with her overall health and how poor she was able to lose weight. And she told me that her diet was amazing, and that I should look at other things. And eventually I'm like, okay, we need to figure out what you're eating, because seeing you for a couple months, I don't know what's going on. And so she says, well, I'm vegetarian. And she wrote out what she ate. And she ate like 5,000 to 6,000 calories per day. And just like, she's like, oh, but it's all vegetarian. I'm like, well, I mean, can be considered vegetarian, and I wouldn't think that that's a good thing. So it is interesting with people's perception of what is healthy, and then when they actually tell you, you're like, oh,
Right.
that explains a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question to ask. What is healthy?
Yeah.
Because healthy can look different for so many people.
Yeah, this person thought, oh, all meat is bad. Okay, right. I give you that. But, and then she said, and eat a vegetarian diet. And I'm like, well, yeah, you have, like Oreo cookies or Cheetos or I guess vegetarian.
It doesn't really work like that.
I would have probably listed it as probably your prime things to eat. But yeah, she was just, so much. So what, with estheticians, what is and the work that you do, what are some of the biggest I would say maybe misconceptions that you have to help people understand what it is that you do and what it is that you help them with?
I think a big misconception that I've gotten a lot, especially when I first started into the industry, was I'm talking about facials, and a lot of people are just like, oh, you just scrub my face. Oh, you're just scrubbing my face. They think it's very like, you don't really do anything. You have an easy job. You're just washing my face and I'm good to go. Now, maybe that is how some estheticians treat their clients. I sure hope not, but it's so much more than that. It's just great to you're with a client just as you're with patients. You build those relationships, you build that rapport, that trust. And for me, it's just so much more than washing your face. It's getting to know you. It's helping you with your skin goals. It's what are your concerns? How can I be a trainer to your skin? And really just focusing on that. It's such a misconception that we don't really do much for the skin. But once you experience it, you realize how important this is. You end up becoming a friend, a therapist, and a skin therapist. So it's a very fun job for sure. I love it.
I like what you had mentioned before. People like to work out the body, so you should work out the skin at the same time. And I had somebody I had recommended to go see a personal trainer, and they said, well, they're just going to make me do exercises that I already know how to do. Like, maybe, but it's not just that. It's the coaching, it's the education, it's somebody watching over you and giving you tips. I mean, that is very invaluable. I mean, people recognize, I think, more and more now that having some extra education, somebody almost like a skincare coach is really important, because maybe you do have a routine that you've sort of stuck with for the last 10 years, but it's not giving you the results that you want. And having an expert, a third party, give an overall view of everything and give you their expertise, I think it's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always tell people too, our skin is always changing. So like you said, what maybe worked for you 10 years ago may not. I just had a client the other day. She's like, I've never gotten acne my whole life. And why am I getting it when I'm 50? Our skin's always changing. So that's then my job to zone in and figure out what's going on.
That's actually really good. That's a good top. That's a good thing to really think about too. The skin is always changing. My wife is actually, she just mentioned that too. She never had acne as a teenager, and we have 5 kids and life, and the skin is just a little bit different than it was. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting acne. How is that even possible?" I'm like, "Well, skin changes, and maybe our approach needs to change." And so she actually started using those Condensed Pure products and help clean up her face a lot more, because some of the products that she had used maybe were she's got like drier skin, and she was just using maybe things that are too heavy for it. And so she things were a little bit lighter, a little bit more sheer. It seemed to do better for her skin, she's doing a lot better. But yes, just like exercise, you can't exercise the same way as when we were 18 years old as when you're like 45 or something. You have to sort of change some things around as you get older.
And consistency is key too.
Oh, consistency.
Same thing. You can't outwork a bad diet, like you were saying. And same thing. If I like to describe what I do too as 80-20. So you put in 80, you have your skincare at home. That's 80% of your results. What are you doing at home? And then that 20% is where I come in to give you that professional exfoliation, that treatment to keep your results kick-started and youthful too. So it's always about 80-20. Do everything at home and then we do the rest.
That's interesting. I bet you do have sometimes people saying like, I just want to look 10 years younger and do your magic or something.
Every day. Every day.
Like, wait, well, it's not exactly like that.
It doesn't work like that, but.
So, I did have somebody come in the other day and he had never run a marathon ever. He was overweight. But he said, oh, I know that I need to lose weight. I figure I'm going to run a marathon and I'm just going to lose a whole bunch of weight and we'll kickstart it. I'm like, you're going to hurt yourself or have a heart attack or something bad. You got to actually train for the marathon. The marathon comes at the end of your training, not in the beginning. And he was, didn't quite understand that. And then he actually ended up doing a 5K there. And he said that he could barely make it past like the first little bit and he had to walk the rest of it. And he's really glad that he didn't do a marathon. So, but since that point, he has been power walking every day. And he walks like 10 miles a day, every day. Wow. But in the beginning, that's been over the last 8 months because of, again, we're talking about self-care and he recognized he was overweight, he was eating not great, and he needed to improve his life, and he did it. Lost like 80 pounds during that period of time. It's amazing. Wow. Yeah. It
does not happen overnight.
It does not.
Great thing to take into consideration. It takes years for all those things to build up, whether it's weight or hyperpigmentation. It's all been brewing. So it's taken a while to come to, fruition. It's not going to go away overnight either. So
yeah. You did mention one thing that I do get a lot of questions about is hyperpigmentation. Like, how is your approach to hyperpigmentation or like age spots that people have?
Yeah. So hyperpigmentation, the darkening of your skin, little dark spots, usually that comes from excess sun exposure. It's also very hereditary. So I like to take an approach of really pre-treating my client's skin first. So what I mean by that is getting them on a regimen of, you have your cleanser, your brightening serum, your brightening moisturizer, getting them on that for at least a month, because that's really when you give your skin that time to get to its state after a month of using a product. And then I like to get into peels. So lactic acid, very brightening, still hydrating, mandelic acid, vitamin A. So really treating their skin with those deeper exfoliations, because that can help essentially peel away those layers. But again, coming back into, you have to be doing the work at home, especially when it's hyperpigmentation, because that's something that has taken so long to appear on the skin. We don't even think about it. They have those lamps now you can go into and see all of your sun damage.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Looking at you, see it, but there could be so much. So eventually that's going to come to light. So, using those products at home is what I say to do first. So if you're consistent with that and then you do your facials when it's pigmentation, I like to see my clients every 2 weeks, to be honest. But realistically, clients will come every 4 to 6 weeks. But being consistent with those treatments, it'll definitely lessen the pigmentation. Then you can get into more of the medical aesthetic side, which I don't perform, but even lasers, more deeper treatments that can take that away even quicker.
Wow. So I like that approach, because sometimes people will say like, just, what can you do today? And, but it does that I like that concept. That's something that took years to develop. It's not going to go away overnight, and it's going to take some time to break it down. So, wow, it's awesome.
And a lot of people, back to the holistic thing, they want the results to be organic and holistic. So if that's the case, it's going to take some time. And to me, if it is more of an organic process, you will get long-term results because you're putting in that consistency.
So consistency is like the biggest key for everything.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah. So, how do people find out, or do you mentioned that you were on social media? How can people follow you and find you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram. My skincare page is called the Dewey Co. So my clients can find me there. And then they can also find me at Face House. We have locations all over LA. I manage the South Bay one in El Segundo. So we're super close to LAX. So I have my clients I'll see for LA area, more out here. And then Long Beach is where my personal business is, Dewey Co.
So, awesome. I like that, Dewey Co.
Yeah, it's so funny. My last name is Dewey.
Oh.
And I would have clients sit up after their facial and they'd be like, my skin is so dewy. I'm like, I need to do something with this. So that's when the Dewey Co started. And I used a play on the word co as a company for the community's complexion. So my main goal is a big spa with multiple estheticians, showing their craft. So right now, doing it from my studio, and then the goal is to expand.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I hope to hear more about how it expands and maybe expands to more places that people can see other Dewey Co estheticians. That would be great. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for your time and your expertise, and for talking with me today. And everybody come and check her out at Dewey Co and at Face House. All right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Bye.